Hey guys, welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. Today, I want to talk about the C8 mid-engine Corvette a little bit more and discuss something that was very obviously missing from the North American International Auto Show. Alright, so at the North American International Auto Show, day one, there was a lot of good information released, a lot of things talked about, a lot of things shown that everybody was excited to see. But there was one glaring absence, and that was obviously the C8 mid-engine Corvette. Now, according to Zerv02 on the Corvette forum, we were supposed to see a surprise of some kind, C8 related, today at that show. And of course, we didn't get anything. There was no surprise reveal, no reveal of the actual C8 emblem, or the C8 wasn't talked about in any way, shape, or form. Now, as I mentioned in my previous videos, I wasn't necessarily going to be holding my breath for this. This wasn't something that I really thought was going to happen. But after the C8 interior spy shots leaked out, he gained a little bit more credibility back. Some of the drawings that he had put out originally showing the C8 interior that he supposedly sat in were pretty accurate. The interior we actually saw and his drawings, they were almost identical. Now, with that being said, as I discussed in my C8 interior leaked photos video, he could have accurately guessed some of this stuff just based on the shots that we had seen of the interior, even though it was covered. He could have accurately guessed some of the things that he put out there. Now, of course, there is a chance he actually did see the interior at some point and made a drawing based on memory and was legitimately giving us what the interior was actually going to look like. I would be much more inclined to believe that he had seen the interior if the prediction of something happening today at the North American International Auto Show actually came true. He never flat out said that it was going to be a reveal of the full car, but he did indicate that there was going to be a surprise of some kind, and we literally heard nothing about the C8 Corvette at all. So to me, this really destroys any credibility he did have, which was already pretty low. And with that car not showing up at all at this International Auto Show, I wouldn't believe anything he says from this point forward. Now, with all that out of the way, one of the more interesting reveals at the International Auto Show was the new 2020 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. I am a guy who can appreciate a nice car and a fast car when he sees one, and I don't have anything against the newer Mustangs, especially not the GT500. It looks like a crazy good car, and Ford is obviously putting in the R&D time to make this thing as great as they possibly can. So I can't knock any particular car out there. I am a car guy. I love anything with four wheels that goes fast and looks good doing it. An interesting piece of information I found was actually based on this particular Mustang GT500 because of the transmission they were using. Ford decided to go with a 7-speed dual clutch transmission for this car. And a lot of people are upset. They don't get their manual transmissions anymore. And I went digging to find out why that was. Now, in an article from MotorAuthority.com, which of course I'll link in the description down below, Ford flat out said when asked about this, the Shelby GT500 doesn't offer a manual transmission because Ford doesn't have one that can handle the power the new car puts out. Now, that's pretty interesting. Ford is basically saying that they do not have a transmission that will handle the 700 plus horsepower that the GT500 is going to put down. They have not revealed an exact horsepower number yet, but they have said it's going to be over 700. Now, with that being said, a lot of the rumors for the C8 mid-engine Corvette are also pointing at a dual clutch transmission. And from our last leaks of the interior, we're seeing a center console that probably wouldn't be able to house a manual transmission option anyway. The C8 Corvette also has rumors that there will be models offered that have well over 700 horsepower as well. Now, this is where things get kind of interesting. I've actually read from the roadandtrack.com website that there is a good chance that the mid-engine Corvette and this Shelby GT500 are going to share the same transmission. Now, that might sound odd, Chevy and Ford sharing a transmission, but you want to remember the 10-speed automatic transmission that GM and Ford actually co-developed that is being used in both the Camaro ZL1 as well as a couple different Fords, one of them being the Ford Raptor. So it's not something new for Ford and Chevy to be sharing a part like this. Now, the transmission in the 2020 Shelby GT500 is developed by Tremec, which has traditionally supplied manual transmissions for both vehicles, but this time it is an automatic dual clutch transmission that is likely to be used by both the Mustang and the new Corvette when it comes out. Now, again, I'll link down in the description below the website that I'm getting all this information from, so you can head over there and read all the details about it. But for now, it's definitely an interesting factoid that these cars may actually share transmissions for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's a dual clutch transmission. And number two, the biggest reason they're going that route is because they don't have manual transmissions that will support more power than that. Now, of course, that is just the Ford explanation. Whether or not it holds water, who knows, but that is a quote directly from Ford. Now, obviously, Chevy has at least the Corvette ZR1 that's putting down well over 700 horsepower, so who knows. With that being said, I have absolutely no problems with Chevy and Ford sharing parts. I think that that's a great thing for manufacturers to team up like that and get the best quality parts out to us as the actual drivers. I think when that kind of stuff happens and the manufacturers team up, we all win. Another piece of interesting information comes from the CorvetteBlogger.com. They're talking about one of the buttons that's visible in the spy shots of the interior, possibly showing a split rear window. Now, as you know, I talked about in my previous video, the button in the middle there, to me, looks like it could be indicating a front end lift or a rear end active aero option. What's clear in the button is I can clearly see a wheel and what looks like an arrow pointing to either the front or the back end of the car. I can't clearly tell, but either way, if it's either one of those two options, it's a pretty cool option to get in a car like this. But the button beside it that they're referring to does look like it has a split rear window illustration on it, and of course that could be referring to the ability to pop the rear hatch to gain access to the engine. Now, it would be interesting because we have not seen any spy shots or anything yet indicating that the rear window of this car was going to be a split window, but that button does seem to indicate something along those lines. Now, the article on the Corvette Blogger goes on to say that obviously the mid-engine Corvette was something Zora really wanted, and apparently Zora actually hated the split window design of the 1963 Corvettes because of how it limited the visibility out the back. With that being said, one of these models is likely to be called Zora, so it doesn't make a lot of sense that they would make this car have a split rear window, especially nowadays where visibility is already very limited, and they would have to limit it even further by putting a split window back there. So I don't think that that's going to happen here, but that button definitely looks like it's pointing to something showing a split rear window. Now, of course, it's hard to tell with these pictures given that they're kind of low resolution. It does look like a split rear window, but odds are good. Either way, it probably is a rear hatch pop, and we're just not able to clearly see the little illustration on the button. But it's definitely interesting reading, so head over to the CorvetteBlogger.com. I'll link it in the description down below to get a little more information on this topic. I just figured I'd bring it out to your guys' attention so you can take a look at it and come to your own conclusions with it. Something else that would alleviate the split window visibility issues would be obviously a backup camera, possibly some sort of 360-degree camera option on this car. Wouldn't be too far off to think something like that. The current C7 has front-end parking cameras to help prevent front lip damage. It has a backup camera, as most cars do nowadays. Throw two more cameras on the side view mirrors and you have a 360-degree camera view option that would really limit the use of having to look out the back window to begin with. Again, it's not something that's completely out of the question, but it's definitely not something that's been guaranteed or even shown in any spy shots yet. So, as with all of this leaked or rumored information, you want to take all of this with a grain of salt. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked what you saw, give me a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the 2020 Mustang GT500 and what you think about the fact that the C8 mid-engine Corvette was a no-show at this International Auto Show. Most of you probably expected it just like I did. but I was kind of hoping to be surprised. So let me know down below what you think, what your thoughts are about Chevy and Ford sharing this transmission and how you think it might benefit us. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet. I'd love to have you as part of the Horsepower Obsessed community. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next upload.